vision came in 1999, before 2001, and finally this vision, we brought it to the Nazareth College, and we found Nazareth College very open and to this idea. The Hickey Center was then created in 2004. Actually, at that time, it was known as the Center for Interfaith Studies and Dialogue.
We've had hard issues, capital punishment, abortion, the politics of the Middle East. We've dealt with all those issues, and we've come away respecting the views of others.
My view for the future is that if we can cement the relationships that have been started here and broaden them, we have the opportunity to make this a better world.
And I would say that from this dialogue, this important dialogue of respect in the forum, that I have learned to say that we are all more human than otherwise.
We need to get past some of the barriers that have kept us apart for generations, and some would say millennia. As we go forward, what we really need to do is encourage younger and younger people to be involved in these sorts of dialogues and relationships. As they grow older, they can grow older in a more peaceful world.
And it became a Hickey Center because of the Brian and Gina Hickey contribution to the center in 2011. And since then it is called the Hickey Center for Interfaith Studies and Dialogue.
Happy Harmony Week!
Hi, my name is McLain Erhard, and I am currently a senior marketing major here at Nazareth College. And I have been a student worker for the Hickey Center for Interfaith Studies and Dialogue at Nazareth College since my freshman year, since I started here. I've acquired skills such as planning events, helping to market events on campus and community-wide. I've had the pleasure of setting up this week's World Interfaith Harmony Week so we could be a participant. Now, this is the Hickey Center's first week participating in a sort of event like this. While we have been doing a lot of work since 2011 with different conferences like setting up mini Chautauqua conferences, different sessions and video screenings for students to come on campus and watch and immerse themselves in the world of interfaith and gain more knowledge about other faiths and people from other backgrounds. We've also set up conferences for high school students, most notably the Global Citizenship Conference. Now, this conference room we're in here is actually very messy. Next week, March 13th or 14th, we are holding our 8th annual Global Citizenship Conference. Now, at this Global Citizenship Conference, we get about 500 to 600 high school students from around the local Rochester area. And they come in from different schools, from different backgrounds. Some are urban areas, some suburban. And they all come together and they split up into different session groups. And during the first sessions, they learn about a religion that's different from their own. This could be myth-busting of the Abrahamic faiths, myth-busting of the Indian origin faiths, learning about humanism, secularism, learning about atheism, agnosticism, every single religion, you name it, and it's going to be covered. We think this is really important because it's important for us as humans, and especially as students and as the next generation, to be more pluralistic and culturally aware. Once we learn about somebody else, we can be more courteous to what they value and what they want, instead of thinking about what we want. We are an ignorant society. It might be in our nature, but hopefully our next generation can change that. Change from ignorance to acceptance. Now, at this Global Citizenship Conference, we bring in 600 students from different schools, and this is important because these students, sometimes they might be a class full of only white people. Maybe, especially in suburban areas, they don't have the experience that a lot of city schools do with, having different cultures in their school. So that they can be better prepared when they come to college and when they get in work environments, when they see somebody that is not of the same color of their skin, that doesn't pray the same way that they do, maybe they don't pray at all, has different values, all of these things. Our goal for this Global Citizenship Conference is to get students to be more diverse in how they learn, in how they act, in how they react. So while the Hickey Center, this is our first year participating in this concentrated week, we have been doing plenty of events for the past almost decade, helping the community and helping our campus become more aware and really focusing on our campus and our students and making excellent global citizens out of them so that they can go and they can be world leaders and they can change this mindset from ignorance to acceptance. So for World Interfaith Harmony Week, we at the Hickey Center wanted to bring something special to our campus and our students and our staff and our faculty. We set together a couple of events that we thought were very important. The first started Thursday, February 1st and went until Thursday, February 8th. And throughout the lunch hours on campus, we set up a table in the very center of campus at a community center, Schultz Center, where we had a couple student workers, and they were helping to spread awareness of the interfaith minor on campus, what exactly interfaith was. There was candy and buttons that said "Love Your Neighbor" for people to pick up. And we also, behind the table, the main attraction was that we had a large piece of paper set up that said, "I pledge to coexist with my neighbors." Now, we have right now over 100 signatures on that. People walking by, I didn't even have to grab their attention. They automatically were like, yes, like, I want in, where do I sign? Well, right there on the paper. Now, this might not seem like a big deal, but as a marketing major, I've taken classes on persuasion. And it's a theory that when somebody publicly announces that they're going to do something, or, like in this example, signs a pledge, they reinforce that idea later on. So somebody may say, well, McLain, they only signed a piece of paper that said they're going to pledge to do something. That doesn't mean they're actually going to do it. Well, that may be the case, but doing something is better than not doing anything in this case. So what was found is that when people write down and they pledge to do something or they publicly announce it, they will be more inclined to do it later on because they want to stay consistent. It's the theory of consistency. They want to stay consistent with how they acted before. Now, when they sign this pledge, they might not think of it at first, but maybe the next week they come into a situation where somebody is asking them for money, or they overhear something and somebody bash another religion or speak illy of Islam or of Christianity or of Judaism. And before you sign the pledge, you might not think anything of it. You might just turn a blind eye, or you might not even be aware that it's going on. But after signing this pledge and you're put into this situation, you will be more willing to act and speak out against these people and say, hey, like, that's not right. Like, they're the same as you and me. They might believe in different things, but at the end of the day, we're all human. So I think that them signing this pledge reinforces that idea later on, that it's not okay to treat others with disrespect, especially when you are shaming their religion and what they believe and what they hold true. So that is why we did the pledge.
Happy World Harmony Week.
If that's okay. Woo! Woo!
Happy World Harmony Week.
Yeah!
Happy World Harmony Week!
Now, the next event, we invited students, and we had a fine group of students travel to the Baraka Muslim charity, which is a local charity here in Rochester, New York. And at the first Saturday of every month, they hold a food giveaway. Now, what this is they get loads and loads of foods and groceries donated to them through like Wegmans and other Whole Foods and maybe local farmers and things like that. And the first Saturday of every month, they get volunteers together. They set up all of these breads, these vegetables, you name it, and they have it. And they allow community members to come in, line up, and take what they need. And so this was my first time doing community work of that nature. And it was such a powerful experience. Just, you know, handing the woman across from me her groceries that would last her for the next 2 or 3 weeks, just seeing the smile on her face really made it for me. It was a very powerful experience, and the Hickey Center plans to send a group of students from now on each month, the first Saturday, to help with the food giveaway, and throughout the week to help with other food drives and cooking and preparing meals for these people that really need it. So I thought it was important that we as the Hickey Center set up an event where students can go volunteer, participate, and help in their local community through religious affiliation. The third event we had on campus was a movie screening of a film called Talking Through Walls. Now, this film followed a man who tried to build a mosque in his local community in Massachusetts shortly after 9/11 occurred. This was in 2003, I believe. And when he tried to build this mosque in his community, he faced a lot of backlash. People said, "We don't want jihad here. We don't want terrorism here. Why would anybody even begin to allow him to get a zoning permit and build this mosque when we as a community don't want it? We don't want those people here. We don't want Islam here. We don't want terrorism here. That's what Islam stands for. It's terrorism, right?" Wrong. This video was a PBS documentary, and it followed the struggles that this man had. And when he thought he had nowhere else to turn, different religious community members around that local community, they said, "Hey, that's not right. We need to form a coalition of sorts, and an interfaith coalition, and inform the public, and have a Q&A session, and inform the public, what Islam actually is. What does it mean to be a Muslim? Does it mean condoning terrorism? No, it doesn't." So they set up these Q&A sessions, and interfaith dialogue is what it came down to help inform the public and help get rid of their preconceptions, their preconceived ideas of what Islam is, because a lot of what they heard was a lot of Islamophobic remarks from the media shortly after 9/11. And so this film was really powerful in that it showed students here on campus. We had about 60 to 70 students attend this, and it really showed them a real-world example of how interfaith dialogue occurs and how it can work. And so after all of these dialogue sessions that this man had, he was finally able to get his zoning license to build the mosque. It took 3 years, but after a lot of informing of the public about their mistaken preconceptions, he was finally able to build this mosque. And so it really showed interfaith dialogue in action and getting results. So welcome, and thank you all for coming. I don't think, does this work? I don't think it works. Oh well, I can project. Alright, so my name is McLain Erhard, and I'm a student worker at Nazareth College's Brian and Gina Hickey Center for Interfaith Studies and Dialogue. Every religion demands that we alleviate suffering. Every religion dreams of a better world. Yet, each religion offers different means to attain these goals. The Hickey Center believes that individuals can learn from each other, understand each other, and work together in a respectful way for the common good. The Hickey Center includes individuals who are diverse in religion, faith, ethnicity, race, gender, and education. The common denominator is a desire to develop skills to clarify and improve individual and community-wide communications on matters of religion, faith, and spirituality. to understand individual and communal faiths, to establish methodology proper to our goals, and to develop the capacity for living in a pluralistic world. We seek to understand and develop research tools, knowledge, and skills to benefit our common humanity. This semester, I've had the pleasure of organizing events for our campuses' participation in the United Nations 8th World Interfaith Harmony Week. The UN describes World Interfaith Harmony Week as follows. The World Interfaith Harmony Week was first proposed at the UN General Assembly in 2010 by H.M. King Abdullah II of Jordan. Just under a month later, it was unanimously adopted by the UN that the first week of February will be observed as a World Interfaith Harmony Week. This week provides a platform where all interfaith groups and other groups of goodwill can show the world what a powerful movement they are. The thousands of events organized by these groups often go unnoticed, not only by the general public, but also by other groups. This week, we will allow for these groups to become aware of each other and strengthen the movement by building ties and avoiding duplicating each other's efforts. It is hoped that this initiative will provide a focal point from which all people of goodwill can recognize that the common values they hold far outweigh the differences they have, and thus provide a strong dosage of peace and harmony to their communities. Throughout this week, the Hickey Center has had a table set up outside the forum where students, faculty, and staff can sign a pledge to coexist peacefully with their neighbors. Countless students have stopped by to sign the pledge, giving me so much hope in my fellow colleagues and generation. The time for change is now, not tomorrow. Thank you all for coming and becoming a part of this harmonious effort toward peace. Now, the movie we will be watching tonight is a PBS documentary called Talking Through Walls: How the Struggle to Build a Mosque Unites a Community. This film will take you into the life and struggle of Zia Rahman, a determined man who sets out to build a mosque in his suburban community. He faces a lot of backlash from his community and must form a dialogue so he and those opposing him can work out their differences. Throughout the film, please note any things that were said or done that surprised you, challenged your beliefs, or intrigued you. After the screening, we will have a short discussion about these items and interfaith efforts in general. Thank you again for coming. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the film. And if you haven't done so, there's some tea and popcorn back there. Make yourselves at home. Now, after this, we had a dialogue session of our own, where we asked students to point out what challenged their beliefs in what they just saw. How was what they saw different from what they believed? Is there anything about Islam that they didn't understand before, they didn't quite understand or grasp? And while I would love to show you the video, the sound was extremely poor in the room, and I hadn't realized it until afterwards. We only had one camera, so I'm sorry about that. But a lot of what students were saying was that they couldn't believe the different steps that the local government in this town in Massachusetts, I'm mistaken of the name right now, but it took them 3 years to get a zoning license. And one woman pointed out in our dialogue session that they kept throwing around, that the local government kept throwing around these different things to get rid of the zoning permit. Like, oh, well, in a mosque there are no seats, so you can't count how many people can actually fit in there like you can a church with pews or a synagogue with pews. So it was just really surprising to see the steps that a local government could take to try to shut down this mosque. And another thing that we pointed out was somebody related it back to our own community. Now, back in 2016, around October or November, right around the time of the US elections, here in Pittsford, New York, where Nazareth College is located, right next to Rochester, New York, there were racist and slanderous flyers and tones that were going around this college campus, the surrounding area, and the campus across the street, St. John Fisher College. And the flyers were disgusting. They said, make Pittsford white again. There were people standing on street corners in the village where everybody drives by saying, make Pittsburgh white again, or I don't appreciate my neighbors, along those tones of they were white supremacists, and so we watched this video where this man faced all of this backlash from his community, and that was in 2003. And you think times would change, but they still haven't. While we think that our attitudes and our behaviors are changing, they are, but I don't believe it's happening quick enough for something like this to happen more than a decade later. And shortly after that, we, as the Hickey Center and Center for Spirituality downstairs, as well as the Religious Studies Department, we set up these events, these interfaith service retreats, where students are invited to go to 3 places of worship. I remember when I went, we went to a Baha'i temple, we went to a Hindu temple, and we went to a Church of Christianity. No problems there, nothing at all. But I guess this next year, when students were brought, this was in 2016, just shortly after these racist flyers were passed out, we had a group of students go. I believe they went to the Baha'i temple, the Hindu temple, and then to the Church of Christianity. And there were 2 female students of ours, that were wearing hijabs, and members of the church called Homeland Security on them. So I believe it was really important for our college community to watch this film, especially because, watching it, how could something like this ever happen today? While it was 2003, that seems like yesterday. That's in the 2000s. When I think about things in the 2000s, I think new, updated, revamped, change. But it's just not what we see today. I thought it would be different, and when one of the students pointed that out, it really brought things down to earth to show us that this is happening in our community. This hasn't changed, and there needs to be more steps in order for this to never happen again. So those were some of the things that we spoke about in that dialogue session and we reflected on. Our last event on campus was held that final Thursday, and we had a closing celebration where we invited students to come in and just talk about their faith and talk about what they believe and what maybe the sorts of change that they want to see in the world, or bring up problems to the forefront that they've been seeing in society and propose solutions of how they can be fixed. Now, we had some great discussion. People spoke about their religion. We tied it all together into how we think the religious climate is sort of changing with the political environment of our times, of where you don't have to choose one party or the other. You don't have to be a certain religion. You don't have to believe much at all. As long as we're kind to one another and we realize that we're all humans on this journey in life together, then it's okay. As long as you love your neighbor, then it's okay. But we spoke about how, you don't have to, be a Republican or a Democrat to have certain views on abortion, as well as I don't need to be a Christian or a Muslim or a Hindu in order to appreciate something from one other's religion. And I think that's very important, and that's how I would identify. I don't identify through any religious affiliation whatsoever. I know a lot of people, a lot of our youth like to use the term, they don't think of themselves as religious, they think of themselves as spiritual. I wouldn't even go as far as to say that. I'm not sure what's going to happen after I die. I'm not sure when I'm going to die. And so I live my life with a set of morals for myself. I think morals, at the end of the day, are common sense. I treat others the way I would like to be treated, and in situations where I'm aware of another person's beliefs and values, I will treat them how they want to be treated. And I think that's very important, to not always say treat each other the way you want to be treated, because you may have different values than somebody else. So just using this common sense, and once we start to learn and ask each other these questions, you can be more aware of what they value, and then you can learn from that, and you can treat them how they would like to be treated. So I think just doing good deeds and just becoming a more global person, I think at the end of the day, that's the best that you can do. Giving back to those who need it. I believe a lot in kind of like a sort of idea of karma, and integrity, where I act when no one else, I act good when no one else is watching. And I think that a lot of people, when they say, oh, religion is stupid, I don't want to be a part of religion, I think a lot of times they're taking that as, I don't want to be a global person. I don't want to have to listen to these morals. And I think that once people are more understanding of what it means to be kind of like a faithful person, just having faith in yourself and the rest of humanity. And from there, you don't need any religious ties. You could just be a more global citizen and be just a better person overall. So I'm McLain Erhard, student worker at the Hickey Center since my freshman year. I'm currently a senior, and I'm a marketing major. And I don't really associate myself with any faith. I still find myself to be spiritual, in that I believe that there's obviously some sort of driving force behind a lot of like what happens. I'm a big believer in like give and take, and like karma. If something good happens to me, I know, if I do good, then good will come to me. So it's just a constant reminder that I don't really need to believe in a certain faith to have a set of morals and just moral good and understanding. So, yeah.
I'm Mackenzie. I'm a sophomore. I'm a psychology major, and I'm a Christian.
I'm Evan Burnett. I am a sophomore, and I am a studio art major. I'm not exactly sure where I stand, but I believe there is a higher power, and think that all religions kind of have a piece of the puzzle in a way.
I'm Allie. I'm a freshman. I'm a music composition major, and I'm Jewish.
I'm Jess. I am a junior, double major in public health and sociology. In terms of religion, I guess I would define myself as more agnostic, and more on the spiritual side. I don't really agree with the idea of labels, just because they've just had so much of a history of dividing people instead of bringing them together. But
I'm Caitlin. I'm a junior. I'm a social science, inclusive early childhood and childhood education, and community development major. I wouldn't necessarily say I have a particular faith, but I would say I'm spiritual and recognize that there are varying different forces, gods, peoples, energies that kind of guide the world, but we also guide them in return.
I'm Matt. I'm a freshman. I'm a physical therapy major, and I'm Christian.
I'm Joel. I'm a junior music education major, and like McLain, I don't identify with any specific world religion. But like Evan, I also do believe that there must be some grain of truth. I just haven't found it yet.
I'm Evan Steyer. I'm a freshman. I'm a music therapy major, and I am Christian.
I'm Lamont. I am a sophomore. I am a double major, BA in music and Spanish with a minor in French. And I grew up Catholic, but I'm starting to venture out of the box, just seeing, just being exposed to more religions and other people in college and stuff like that.
I'm Gina. I'm a senior psychology major. I'm very invested into Christianity and Catholicism, but I actually decided recently to convert over to possibly paganism. My father is a deacon at our church, and I was very, I revolved around it a lot as a kid and still now because of that. But personally, just through discussion with my fiance, we're really thinking about teaching our children paganism, and that everything on earth has like a spirit, a soul, and energy, and we all kind of connect in that way. So.
I'm Ashlyn. Hi. I'm a music therapy major. I'm a sophomore. And I grew up around Christianity, but I never really thought of myself as a Christian in that way, because I never fully accepted that as for myself. But I definitely think it was really cool, especially with my religion classes here, to see other versions of other people's religions and to see what else is out there. So I'm more like, yes, I feel that there is some force or some thing. It might just be that our energy is all connected or something, but I like to just think about it a lot and think, what if maybe this, maybe that, but yeah, so I don't really have any title.
I'm Calista. I'm a freshman, an early childhood education major, and I don't really associate myself with any certain religion either.
Hi, I'm Katie. I'm a freshman speech therapy major, and I also work here in the Hickey Center, and I'm Christian.
I've been settling scores. I've been fighting so long, but I've lost your war, and our kingdom is gone. How shall I win back your heart, which was mine? I have broken bones and tattered clothes. I've run out of time. I'll run, I'll run, I'll run to you. I'll run, I'll run, I'll run to you. I will break down the gates of heaven, 1,000 angels stand waiting for me. Oh, take my heart and I'll lay down my weight and bow. Break my shackles to set me free.
So Gina, what is paganism?
It's like the belief that everything on earth has like a spirit and like is a part of like everyone's lives, and we all have like, it's a big ecosystem of just everyone, and then it revolves into your religious belief.
Okay, so it's kind of like cyclical, like cause and effect kind of. Like everything is connected in
Yeah.
some sort of way.
Yeah.
Cool. I mean, that's kind of like how I associate myself. Like a lot of things, it's not as like specific. Or
So there's like not only, even though I'm probably still gonna believe that there's just one God in everything, because I do believe that, but in paganism you believe that everything is like a god or a goddess, and it's just all of very high value.
Okay.
So there's multiple gods and goddesses in paganism, but I'm probably still gonna believe that there's just one almighty power and God, but I still believe that there's like everything on earth, every like rock, every like tree, everything has like a soul and like a what was I saying before?
Everything's connected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like what you said about like, just like you're still gonna believe in like what you hold true, and like, so like I feel like it kind of like there's a direct pattern between like how politics has grown and how religion has grown. So now it's not like you have to associate yourself with like one specific religion or one specific political party.
Like
People
I
are
like
picking,
mixing
like,
what I believe for myself.
It's not like nitpicking, but it's just like, you know, you don't have to, you know, if you want to become if you want to like, you know, be like for or against guns, you don't have to be Democrat or Republican. Just like if you want to believe in certain aspects about one religion and then keep holding on to something that you value in like your original religion.
So that's what we want to teach our children, is that like, yes, there is a God, but you should treat everything with value and like it is a part of like your religious system and kind of worship everything around you.
Cool.
So.
I like that.
Brother, you don't need to turn me away. I was waiting down at the ancient gate. Wherever you go today, you go today. I remember how they took you down as the winter turned the meadow brown. You go wherever you go today. You go today. When I'm walking, brother, don't you forget. It ain't often that you'd ever find a friend. You go wherever you go today. You go today.
My name is Breyana. I am a transfer junior here at Nazareth College. This is my second semester, and my major is music business. Studying interfaith and having that as a very pressing issue that we're constantly talking about, not only within the Nazareth community, but within our immediate community, our general, the greater Rochester and the world. I feel that it helps to develop open mindsets and more tolerant mindsets. And I feel that if we positively expose people, emphasis on positively expose them to diversity, not only ethnically, religion, gender, we can create a people who are more unified. They act with love. They spread peace, and they just kind of are able to exist in harmony. And that's kind of the goal, world peace, you know. Well, I would say that it's not enough to say, love thy neighbor, because that's kind of, I don't want to say that's common sense, but you have to take that further and say that it is possible to love your neighbor, even if you have differences in beliefs or views, or you know how things should go or how things should operate in society, even in the government, even in this very campus. It's okay to disagree with people. It's okay to not agree with people all the time, but you can still that can still be your neighbor. You can still love them regardless. You shouldn't be completely closed off to anything they want to say or have to say, or anything they try to tell you. If they try to give you their perspective, honestly, if I'm going to honestly keep it 100, there are people who they'll say, "Oh yeah, I'm listening," and you can tell them your viewpoints or your beliefs or why you feel X, Y, Z and where it stemmed from, and you know your experiences or what you researched or whatever, and then they bring it all together, full circle, have this entire like dissertation almost about like what like you strongly believe in, and they can be sitting there in your face staring at you, nodding, you know, yeah, sure, responding, but they are not hearing anything you're saying. And that happens more often than not. And then you have those people, and I'm not saying it's everybody, because it's definitely not everybody, but you have those people who are just kind of like, they're gonna pretend to listen to you just to appease you, so you feel like you're being heard, but they're not really hearing you, and then that's where change does not happen.
It's because I agree with that, because people feel like
they'll go into a conversation, but they won't be willing to change.
Right.
Like they're gonna hold true to like what they believe without even hearing the other side.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's in a lot of political discussions right now.
Mhm.
We see it everywhere in the media. And just people aren't willing to change. Like, I know that, like, I went through, like, a Facebook post, and it was actually a teacher who used to work here, who was really involved in the Interfaith department. And I love seeing things that she posts because she's always, all the time, is saying, like, like, I went to this group with one mindset, and I came out of this meeting with a totally different mindset that
Right.
I never would have thought that I would have, believed something or changed my perspective on something.
Right.
So, like, yeah, like somebody who can sit there for hours on end listening to you, but if they don't have the willingness to change and they are so closed-minded in that aspect,
Right.
then they're not going to change.
Right. I'm going to sit here and let you say what you have to say so you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to do the complete opposite and continue with the plans that I've already,
Yeah.
wanted to. I already have what I'm going to do. I'm just trying to make you happy right now
Mhm.
for these 5 seconds or 15 minutes that I'm meeting with you.
Mhm.
And then afterwards, I'm going to go ahead and proceed with whatever I was doing.
Yeah.
That is not in your favor.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't care.
So I guess maybe what you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is that like to interfaith, like we can put on these events and teach people about different faiths, but what needs to be taught first is having an open mind.
Yeah. But that can't really be taught. That has to be something that you want for yourself. Open-mindedness. There are some people whose parents from a very young age just tell them to, accept each other, they expose them to a bunch of different things. And then from that, at the end of the day, you have your parents, ideas in your head, but at the same time, you're still a human being thinking for yourself. Well, most of us. And you still take those, and there's a bunch of opinions, and some of them take those opinions as truth, but a lot of us, and subconsciously, we don't even realize we're doing it, but we take it, and it's kind of like we start shaping it, like, does that really make sense? Or I just had this experience, my mother told me this, like, and then match it up, see if, like, then we start kind of developing our own way. They say an old dog never learns new tricks, but that's not always true. Mm-hmm. Because I'm pretty old and I'm learning some new things. There has to be a willingness. So that's what I'm saying. We can host this event. We can have these meetings. We can have these town halls. We can do, but that's all fine and good. But all we're doing for real is talking. Mm-hmm. Talking kind of sheds light on the problem. Mm-hmm. It doesn't fix the problem. No. It's just a bunch of hot air literally hot air and carbon like thrown around the room. When you finally take what you're saying and put it into action, that's when I'm going to be impressed. We have these events, we have all these discussions, and it's like at this point, after a while, these discussions become things that are things start repeating because the same things keep happening. They might be different people, might be different places, settings, and instances, but it's the same context. And it keeps on repeating, keeps happening because all we're doing is having discussions.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, kind of like to like summarize or like go off of what you just said, like, interfaith, I feel like is just one, kind of like what we were saying, to get to peace and harmony, there's different steps that need to be fulfilled.
Of course.
And just like dialogue is the first step
Mm-hmm.
to change,
Mm-hmm.
and just like action is also one of those steps, but
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't mean that people are going to change without a true meaning behind it. I think that like interfaith dialogue in it of itself is kind of like one step towards peace.
Yes.
Like what I've learned here most is that it's not even, so first you learn, okay, like it's okay to accept other faiths, but I feel like there's just an underlying message behind what interfaith is about, and that it extends beyond just faith. It goes to gender, it goes to race,
Absolutely.
it goes to social status,
Yes.
just even people who believe in different things than you if they like different music,
Mm-hmm.
or they like to appear in a different way.
Yeah.
Then that's totally okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like interfaith dialogue, while it teaches us it helps us learn about other religions.
Yes.
And then from that we can be more accepting of those religions. Because a lot of what people, they don't want to change, and they don't change their perspective because they don't have the willingness to learn.
Exactly.
So when they take that first step to say, okay, I will sit down with you and I'll learn about it, then they'll be more accepting of other things.
kind of like I had a discussion with a friend of mine, and we were talking about how religion has kind of shifted as politics is starting to shift now, of where you don't need to be affiliated with like a certain religious group.
Mhm.
Obviously, like, you know, you don't have to affiliate with being in Islam or Christianity, Judaism, Hinduism, just like you don't need to affiliate politically with any party. Like, you don't need to affiliate with the Green Party, you don't need to affiliate with yourself with the Republican Party or a
Right.
Democrat Party, you don't need to label yourself as anything.
Right.
You can just sit as a global citizen, and you know, I like that aspect of this and I like that aspect of that.
Right.
If I'm a Republican, I don't have to or if I'm a liberal, I don't have to believe in like strict gun control or something like that. Just as an example, that's probably a bad example to use in today's, or, you know, in light of recent
But I
events.
understand what you're saying.
But like, you don't need to, you know, I feel like that's great about how our society is evolving.
Yes.
Is that you don't need to, I don't want to say like nitpick, but like you can pick out what you like. You don't
Right.
need to conform to everything that
Right.
To a group believes in. That a
You
group
can take
believes
what
in.
speaks to you as a person and your experience that you've gone through and how you would like to operate in society. You can take things from different places, and you can, because at the end of the day, we're complex human beings. Human beings are complex people, individuals, organisms, whatever you want to call us. We are very complex, and we not everything has to be surface. Not everything is black and white. We live in a very gray society, and I think that's a perfect example of that.
And I think that, you know, and I think this is kind of like what you were getting at, is that, you know, with Interfaith, we do so much with like the events that we're putting on,
Mm-hmm.
that we kind of lose focus, and I think this goes across the board, and I feel like this can be said about a lot of maybe different community organizations that are also taking a part of World Interfaith Harmony Week, is that sure, like, it, you know, you can have all of these events and programs, but what really needs to happen is a big change, an underlying change behind the mindset of humans, and about how we go about accepting other people and other things. And I think that what's great about today is that the youth is very informed. We're becoming more informed about a lot of things that maybe generations before us weren't. I feel like we're more comfortable to come out and act and be activists, as we saw in the CNN town hall in Florida. We have students more willing to speak out against what they believe in, or speak up against what they believe in.
Yes.
And I think that that is going to be the major change that we're going to see in the next 10 to 20 years, is this shift from isolationist society and, you know, I don't like change. If you're different from me, I don't want you in my society.
Right.
And we're shifting that from being closed-minded to more open-minded. And I think that it has to do with the efforts that Interfaith around the nation and just different peace movements has been doing, like with starting with our youth. So I mean, while all the events that we did over the week and that others have done over the week, while they're great, I feel like there's more that needs to be done. I don't know how it can be done.
Right.
But I think in order to do this correctly, we need to figure out a way and come together as different organizations and schools, and really focus on and hone in on what needs to be done and how it can be done.
And that's where dialogue is important, because we can talk these things through on how we want to proceed, how we want to spark actual change. The first step is recognizing that there's even an issue, and you can't do that without saying it out loud.
Yeah.
So the dialogue definitely has its place, and it can help. It definitely, like, having those events are still very helpful, because it can help a lot of people say, well, what if we did this? What if we you know, you can come together with a bunch of different perspectives and different ideas. You know, great minds think alike, but not all the time. So you can have, you know, there are a bunch of people who will have different ideas than you, and that things come at it at angles you never thought of before. So I mean, discussion is definitely very important, and I think it will help to get to the next step. Definitely think it's a gateway. So.
Also throughout the week, we painted a mural that has a checkbox next to it, and it says, Praise Well with Others, the Hickey Center, World Interfaith Harmony Week, 2018. I thought this was really important, and it kind of, we will look back at it, on it as the day that Nazareth College entered this World Interfaith Harmony Week sort of competition. And I don't like to call it a competition because that's not what it is. We should be doing this work every day. And here at the Hickey Center, that's what we do.
As long as you love me, as long as you love me,
I'm not awake, yeah, I was in the dark, I was falling hard with an open heart. I'm wide awake, how did I read the stars so wrong? I'm not awake, I'm not awake, everything you see, ain't always what it seems. I'm wide awake, yeah, I was dreaming.